Hey guys, I hope everyone is doing great today. I want to talk about the ethnic cleansing, the first ethnic cleansing that occurred in America that essentially nobody knows about. Why is that? And is it happening again? Maybe. But it's interesting to me that the main reason I'm doing this is because so often I get these messages in my comments that say things like, I don't know why anybody loves America. This was the Native American land and you stole it. You white people, you did this and that. And we are the victims and you must give me reparations. Well, that mentality is never going to get you anywhere in life. It just isn't. And we need to be honest about history. Otherwise, you just sound a little bit crazy. Let me get this out and we'll look at this in a minute. This is my ancestry information. Okay, so the first ethnic cleansing was of the Acadians. Unless you live in Louisiana, or in Nova Scotia, you likely don't even know who the Acadians are. The Acadians make up most of the original people that came to Louisiana. But were they just greedy white people that came to Louisiana? No. They were ethnically cleansed by the crown. Well, England and Britain were fighting over whatever. Actually, the reason they first went to Nova Scotia was because apparently the Vatican wanted to kill most of them, but not only the Vatican. See, the whole thing is just a little bit messed up, and there's a little bit deeper that goes into this that I'm not ready to talk about right now. But the thing is, let's just go back to this, because so at that time Nova Scotia was the original settlement, because it went from Nova Scotia to La Florida. Well, it was La Florida, which went all the way up to Nova Scotia, which is current day Canada. And one morning, the people out of Massachusetts, the Commonwealth, whatever, they were ordered to go to their houses and say, you're leaving, or we're just gonna kill you. And that's essentially what they did. They killed 55%, burned down their entire settlement that they had, which was they were friendly. Not only friendly, they lived amongst the native people that are called the Micmacs there, and they had a very communal, loving type. It was the importance of states' rights is what this shows. It shows how important states' rights are. You see, and that's really what they were fighting. Actually, speaking of that, let me bring up a couple things. DeSantis proposes a law to fine social media companies for their censorship. I won't go through all of this, but this is what I've been talking about for years. States' rights. You need to cut yourself off from DC and from Silicon Valley. If they want to kick you off their platform, well, that's what they're going to do. But you have to overcome that. But the thing is, with these strong governors, you bring it down to the local level and you do things like this. And this is amazing. This isn't the first thing that he's fighting about, and ensuring that the people of Florida are treated appropriately. And the fine that he is proposing is $100,000 per day. It's amazing. And a couple days before that, we had Texas Governor Greg Abbott write an executive order that will ensure that the energy jobs that are in Texas will not be affected by anything that Biden writes up. And that's That's all you have to do. The states have the power. But for so many years, we have convinced ourselves, well, they have convinced us that the president is so powerful. Oh my gosh, we must vote for president. What's going to happen if we don't? What if this person gets in? What if that person gets in? It does not matter. It truly does not. Your states affect the things that actually are going on around you. The president really is only supposed to be a talking head administratively for like foreign affairs and for very few. You see, the federal government has few numbered and defined powers, whereas the states have numerous and infinite, meaning like the local people can make laws just like DeSantis is saying. Oh, now we're going to, find these big tech companies. That's what they do at a local level. We don't have to wait for some president to say, you can no longer do this. Arkansas actually did it. I can't say that I remember what happened, but they started that process. I'm not sure what ended up becoming of that. But when a big state like Florida and Texas are teaming up, y'all don't remember, I did a video the other day where DeSantis was in Texas having a meeting with Greg Abbott and, well, some of the legislators there and discussing these things, because that's all that needs to happen. When you live in a state that your governors and your state and local police, your elected officials, your sheriffs, all of these people are like this, then you don't need to worry about what anything is coming out of the federal government. You don't. And they know that. They know it. They know it. And that's why Biden is trying to write all these executive orders, thinking that people, it just gets in their minds. I mean, let's be real. He doesn't really know what he's doing. He's probably just signing stuff. But all of DC, they're freaking out because they see what's coming. They see, and that's something that, some people aren't going to agree with me about. But Paula White, I know a lot of people don't like her and they talk a lot of crap about her. But she truly does have a calling on her life, and I won't go into much detail about that. But when she was calling for a victory, this is the victory. We're having these governors put into place to where we can distance ourselves from the beast system. So, I might do a whole video on her, but let's get back. So the ethnic cleansing, these people didn't harm anybody. They lived peaceably. They all, they had farms and I mean, I would kind of compare them to what the Amish are today, kind of how they lived and stuff. But one day, knock on the door, boom, 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 you're out. And they burned down their cities. Like I said, 55% of them died. We hear so much about the Native American Indians, but which was terrible too. But you have to see all of the picture. There was only a third or a fourth of the biggest tribe that was ethnically cleansed, but yet we hear about that all the time, and you never hear about the Acadians. You never do. Why? Because they looked like me. It's a simple fact. They looked like me. The majority of them came to Louisiana, and actually that's mainly why Louisiana still has parishes rather than counties. A lot of the things that they did there, they ensured still went on whenever they came to the New World. They came before 1776. It was in the 1750s when they came And when they set up the government system, it was like this. Now, right now, we have a very corrupt governor and corrupt state senate and things, where we're seeing, the pastor arrested and all of these things. And not just him. I mean, there's a lot of really crazy things going on, but not everywhere. That's mainly in the Baton Rouge, New Orleans area. But like in my area, the sheriff is amazing. He's like, I'm not gonna go send police officers to arrest you for masks. Like, it's not gonna happen. Like, get out of here with that nonsense. But that's what you need to focus on, and that's what they focused on. Well, let me say, the main thing, what they were told to do was, you either bow down to the British Crown, and let me see, and you had to, there was two different things that were going on at the same time. Boston, the Massachusetts settlements and everything, they were all Protestant. Okay? So technically, this was a Protestant ethnic cleansing. Because the Acadians were Catholic. And as much as people hate the Vatican and hate Catholicism, whatever, again, you have to look at the big picture of things. And what Vatican II is now was not what the Vatican system was then. One thing I do find very odd is that many of our ancestors were killed by the Vatican. Like, so it's very, the whole thing is just very crazy. But this was done by Protestants. They wanted them to renounce being Catholic. And honestly, from the records that I know, they weren't Vatican Catholics, and Louisiana never has been. The Vatican has never been like a big deal. They're Catholics, but they were more like, how do I say it? More like, I don't know. They were just they were like the early church. That's what they were. They all, brought their money together. They helped each other. They did all these things. And they just didn't want people running all over them. And that's what got them killed and ethnically cleansed by the greed. There was a lot of greed going on here because they wanted them to... the money, because they were bringing in a lot of money because of their trade and because of all the talents that they had, the skills that they had. It was just it was a really horrific situation. And I believe that that's really what made Louisiana so strong, and why when we have hurricanes, we're not around crying about it. We just get up and do. And unfortunately, over the last 2 decades or something, people have become this victim, this whole victim mentality, where they live in America, which almost all of our ancestors, when you go and actually look back, so many of our ancestors, something occurred that made them come here. And yet we still have people acting like they're the victims because this happened to their ancestors and that happened. That's what I wanted to look at. See, because people always want to bring up the Native American thing. And what they don't look at is how friendly they were with the Native Americans. If the people like the Acadians and the Spanish and the French weren't here and they just let England come, England would have just wiped them all out. None of them would be alive right now, to be honest. They would have had no problem doing that, just completely wiping everybody out. But those of us that y'all persecute, if you're even watching this video, that you persecute all the time, talking about, oh, you white supremacist, you this, you that. you're not only historically, factually wrong, you're just being ignorant. Because if we weren't fighting for y'all, which the majority of people were, then you would not even be here today. I'm not saying it was right, it was terrible. But because we fought back and said, no, these are our friends. We've been here. And something a lot of people don't realize is that, honestly, the Hebrew people, not the Jews, the Hebrew people came here likely 2,000 years ago. And had already was living with these people, the Cherokees, I know Cherokees for sure. I don't want to say any. I know that anyway. It's a whole long story, but you have to look at everything in a big picture. But I had a letter from one of the chiefs of one of the Native American tribes, and like they were like, without the help of the Acadians, we wouldn't have been able to even survive any of this. Let me see. I certify Sir Malonson, chief of the nation of the Indians of all Acadia, as well as the French of the country, has rendered to me all sorts of services for the establishment of this colony, and that this establishment would not have been made without his help. And then it goes on, and what I have retained for him, and by his reward, I give him this and that, this and that. And this is what was going on in many of the people that are still here, like our ancestors. When you look back, that's what was going on. They weren't just going through the country, chopping people up. Like, that was not happening. Did it happen? Yes. But just like the Salem witch trials, where I think only 6 people were killed, and that's 6 too many. Actually, it might have been 3. But people act like it was thousands or even hundreds or dozens. It wasn't. It was in the single digits. And we hear about that. But you never hear about this. Don't you think they have an agenda? See, these were Christian people. But the witches, we got to talk about the witches, poor witches. The Indians, see that, and then the Indians team up with the African Americans, and then it's divide and distract. All of those people are white supremacists. How is that even possible? Do you know how it literally makes no sense? And it's just a mind game. It is a mind game. I mean, I'm sure pretty much nobody watching this has even heard of these people. Heard about this ethnic cleansing. But yet it was the first one of the New World. And we're not asking for reparations. They never got anything. Anything. The people that still live in Nova Scotia that were able to, they moved to different places, but I think they're back now in Nova Scotia. They've been fighting it for years, trying to get like reparations and whatever, even the property back. Nothing. They kept nothing. It was, you're leaving. Go on these boats. And the boats, people died on the boats. They were left in the cold. Just like all these atrocities happened. I'm not going to go through everything because there is one lady that does a good video, but I think she kind of takes the victimhood angle too, which, I mean, it is what it is. I think that made us stronger. I think things like that, as terrible as they are, will make us stronger and points us into the right direction, like what's happening right now on social media. How the Christians and the conservatives are being forced out. Well, that's fine. Because we don't have to participate in your beast system. Andrew Torben wrote a good article about that. And he's like, I'm praising God that, his credit card, like he can't even use his banking system because that people made up some crazy crap about him. I think, is he the guy that owns Gab? I don't remember. But that's how you have to look at it. There are evil people in this world that do things that are actually trying to push you in the right direction. It's not pushing you to conform per se, and it's not pushing you to fight. As a Christian, I'm talking about as a Christian, you do whatever you want if you're not. But it's pushing you, and you should be seeing, oh, this actually is a great thing. Like the hurricane that hit here in Louisiana. Well, we had 2 back-to-back within a month or whatever. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. As people were like, what? I mean, there was a whole Facebook group and these people complaining all day. They didn't see the blessings that it brought. It was amazing. I got to spend so much time with my family in the country with a river. You know, we have a pond and all of the stuff. Absolutely beautiful. We didn't have electricity for 4 weeks or something. It was amazing. I saw teenage boys outside cutting wood and doing stuff rather than playing on their video games and being depressed about the corona. Listen, about corona all day. See, they didn't have to go back to school just yet. And have to wear the mask and do all that. It really was like this break from this world of the beast system. People were, like bartering kind of, but giving people cooking for everyone, like the church, we cooked for so many people, thousands, I don't know, tens of thousands of people, and people just in the neighborhood. They were just taking turns cooking. I made some red beans and rice one day, just a whole big pot, and that's what we were doing. That's what they were doing, and that's what states' rights is about. And neighbor helping neighbor, and not living in this alternate universe of at least 25% bots, and you're getting angry about bots doing these things. You have to look at the good in all of these things. I mean, most of the articles that you find about this, it's like, what would America have been like if this wouldn't have happened? They were such beautiful, amazing, loving people. Yeah, they were. But I believe that we were meant to be in Louisiana. I believe that we were forced out of Britain so we wouldn't be there. And, and I know African Americans and people from other countries that say the same exact thing. They say, yeah, it sucked that my great-great-grandparents were brought here on a ship or whatever as a slave, but I'm in America. I'm not in Nigeria or the Congo where... Y'all, and that's another thing. People are very delusional about what was going on at these times. They tried to downplay that there wasn't really cannibalism going on. Yes, there was. There still is in some of these tribes. Not in just Africa. I'm talking about in South America, too. And, oh yeah, we brought all our whiteness, whatever. You could still be a cannibal, or you could be eaten yourself. There's tribes right now that still do the same thing. They wear body parts of people that they killed around their necks as like medals of honor. So, yeah, you could look at it like, oh, those terrible white people just came tearing through here and just... Yeah, but do you realize what was going on? There's so many things that were going on. It went from French to Spanish to this. The white people lost too. And if you watch Game of Thrones, or if you've ever watched it, and all those white people are killing each other, that's exactly what was going on in France. In what we call, it was France, Germany, all these places. It was about territory and tribalism. And that's how it will always be. This is not about a black issue and a white issue and, oh me, I'm a victim. You can live like that if you want, but you're never going to get anywhere. You're never going to get anywhere. It's terrible what happened to my ancestors, but I think they were strong and I think they did the right thing. They came to Louisiana. Some of them stopped, I think, in South Carolina. Some went to Brazil. But the vast majority came to Louisiana. And I think this is where we were supposed to be. And I think, that we're pushed into certain situations in order for our good. And we might not see it. Just like, Abraham was promised to be the father of many nations. And, when he died, he might have been thinking, like, I don't have many nations. But now, it's practically all of the world that is Christian, in places all of the world. So, yeah, we might not see it right now, but you have to look back and you have to be thankful for the things that you do have and say, oh, well, it's really not that bad, because I could be fishing with a piece of string in some South American country or in some African country, literally chasing down cows that look like they have been underfed. I mean, seriously, you gotta look at these places. America ain't that bad. Well, it's turning bad now, and it's gonna get really bad soon. But so it's probably too late to learn about these things, because you've already bought into the narrative that they want you to buy into. But and it wasn't the Acadians, that happened. I wanted to talk about the North American continent, and technically it was America at the time. It was what was claimed, Nova Scotia to Florida and to Louisiana. But the same thing happened with the Irish people, and that's why they came here. And people will refuse to say that they were slaves, and they refused it because they weren't. They weren't. They were indentured servants, and essentially, that's another thing I wanted to get to. Funny thing, the Civil War ended up doing the same thing that the ethnic cleansing of the Acadians did. They came down here wanting the money that was coming through the ports, and people hate this. They're like, no, the war was about slavery. No, it wasn't. It was still legal to have slaves in northern countries. But I'm not going to go into all that. But we had free black men that held office in Louisiana before the Civil War. Now, answer me this. How did that happen? If this was about slavery, we had an all-black, free black National Guard. Officers in the Civil War that were free? You really think it was about slavery? But now they want to demonize the Confederate flag and demonize the South. That's fine. We'll just push ourselves away, and we have strong governors down here. My governor will jump on board once the strong ones do something. He's a wimp. But while they're doing these things, and that's going to help us in the end. So instead of being so angry at this person and this person, just say thank you. Bless your heart. Bless your heart. Like, it's not about rebelling against it. It's like, okay, I'll wear a mask and I probably won't come back to this place if you're going to be that crazy. You see what I'm saying? And shop local. Shop local. Whenever you keep supporting these garbage companies, these garbage people that push these agendas, they supported Black Lives Matter, that are supported Antifa, that absolutely on their page said that they're trying to destroy Western normalization, white patriarchy, whatever, then you're attributing to the problem. Facebook, all of these social media companies, all of that. I'm not saying you have to totally get away from it, but if you can, do it. You don't have to participate in their insanity. You don't. But you also don't have to act like a raging lunatic and act like you're this, I'm a victim of life, of everything. I need reparations. I need that, what is it doing? Is it helping you? Is it helping your children? Is it really? I doubt it. I highly doubt it. And I mean, it just, you should be able to see through the narrative. You really should be able to see through the narrative when you see that the first ethnic cleansing you've never even heard about, because they were white Christians, but they weren't Protestants. So that's even funny. You know, it's like, because somebody actually said that one day. They said John MacArthur might have, if it was allowed, he would likely agree with what Calvin and Luther did, how they ethnically cleansed people that were not adhering to what they were doing. They killed a lot of people. They had a lot of people killed. And they were like, yeah, John MacArthur would probably be all for that. And I agree, because he's said it. He has said that, I wish God would just strike all these people down. And he's talking about fellow Christians. They're just Christians that have a little bit of a differing view than him. And he's not the only one. He's just a well-known one. That's not Christianity. That's satanic. I think the UN might have actually categorized it as a genocide, but I wouldn't consider it a genocide. I mean, we came here and we flourished, and now we're pretty much the richest state in the Union, especially per capita, but yet we're the poorest state because people didn't study history. And they allowed the oil and gas industries to come in here, and Walmart and all these other companies, and do ridiculous things because they're too busy focusing on what's going on in DC. And that's what happens. When you're too busy, that's what the distraction is for. To distract you and divide you to where you don't come together as a people, live peaceably. I mean, there was, you know, they married the Micmacs. They had families with all these people. They lived next to all these people. It wasn't like they came in and like destroyed them. Like it's so ridiculous how people make these things out. And that's really what happened in a lot of scenarios. It wasn't just people genociding. Honestly, it was a lot of England, and they went back to England. Their ancestors are in England. Like, and the British people and this and that, whatever. So, I mean, it wasn't exactly the people that are living here. But it's all just a narrative. Either way, all the money would go to them. Like all these Black Lives Matter donations. Who did it really go to? It went to some rich white people and some rich black people that you're never going to see it. You're never going to see it. It's just, all right, this was long and kind of all over the place. But I hope you learned something, and you can look into the Acadians, and maybe one day I'll go do a video tour of the plantations, the Acadian plantations. See, now when people hear plantation, they think, oh, slavery. Oh. Like, no, it's just, it was a farmhouse. Some of them were bigger than others. Whatever. Anyway, I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Oh, I want to thank everyone that has donated in the last few months. Even if it's just a couple dollars, everything helps, y'all. Y'all know I'm completely demonetized because of the things that I talk about. I was demonetized for speaking about Jesus, and when Pastor Spell was first arrested. But anyway, that's fine. It is what it is. I likely should be. I am making a new channel. I have a backup channel, so go ahead and go subscribe to that. And I'm on other platforms. Everything will be in in the comment thing section. But I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Like, share, and subscribe. That's another thing. Like it and comment. All of those things help. Even though I'm completely shadow banned and completely demonetized, it does. I think it still helps. Pretty sure. Anyway, bye guys.